Hello, and welcome back to the Wayward Skein. It's been a hot minute since I've recorded an episode, almost a month. Oops. My name is Lynn. You can find me as Toll Baby pretty much anywhere on the internet, Ravelry included. I'm on... Where else am I? I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, sort of, barely. I'm all over the place. If this is your first time watching, please bear with me. I'm certainly not pro, as evidenced by the lighting and my lovely background here. That's my dining room window up there. So I live in a semi-basement, and the dining room is the one room in which we did not install a curtain rod when I moved in. So there are curtains on all the other windows except this one. This one just has a bed sheet nailed up in the corners. I do have a curtain rod, and I will install it someday, but hasn't happened yet. This is a knitting podcast, and the last few weeks my knitting mojo has been a little bit all over the place. We're going to attempt to do this while my son is in the other room chatting with a friend of his, so hopefully you guys won't be able to hear him too clearly, and his friend won't be able to hear me too clearly, and it should all work out. So my knitting mojo has been a little all over the place, mainly because I was coming to the end of a bookkeeping class that I was taking for my college diploma. And it was rough going. It was really difficult. I was not enjoying the last few weeks of the class, and my final exam was last Sunday. So I have completed the class. I have passed the class. I got an A+. Woo! They don't give us number grades at this college. They give us letter grades. So I got an A+ in the class. I'm pretty happy with that. It means I aced the exam because I walked in with an A. I think I had an 89% average before the exam. So I think A+ is 95 and up. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how that's counted at my college. I'm sure there's something somewhere on the website. But anyway, I passed. Yay! So my next class starts on March 1st. It's not bookkeeping, though, so it shouldn't be as hard. It's communications. It's basically an English class. Anyway, I did get some knitting done. For instance, I finished Rob's wedding socks. Ooh, and they're coming up much closer to actual color now. The orange is getting lost a little bit, but the teal is actually coming up pretty accurately, and I'm pretty happy about that. I had a new software update for the camera, so I'm hoping that will improve the colors. It's certainly not doing much for the white balance because, wow. I know I've been saying this for a while, but I'm still working on getting the other recording area set up and figuring out how to get Wi-Fi way over there. So because it's at the other end of the house from here. I can get Wi-Fi here because I can see the router from here, but to get it across the house and through 3 walls and a doorway might be a different story. So anyway, I will give it a go in the next couple of weeks probably. My goal is that maybe by the time I come back from Chicago, I'll be recording in there. I'm going to Chicago in about 2.5 weeks. Yeah, 2.5 weeks. I'm going March 6th to 9th. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. So these are Rob's wedding socks. They are finished. And they have been living in here so that they don't get dirty or cat-haired or whatever. This is my little Rhinebeck 2017 pouch that Kate of Hawthorne Cottage Craft made for me. And she had a friend of hers embroider the front. So they've been living in there so they don't get dirty. These are my standard 3x2 rib socks for him. He is maybe having performance issues. Well, that was an interesting error message to get right in the middle of my screen. And I'll thank you to mind your business about my performance issues, Logitech. So yeah, this is my standard 3x2 rib pattern. Rob is a creature of habit. He likes all his socks to be exactly the same. 3x2 rib is what we have determined he likes best. I did make a couple of pairs of 2x2 rib early on. He noticed a difference and he didn't like them as much. So we'll stick with the 3x2 rib because that's what works. I base my socks on sock recipe, A Good Plain Sock by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. I don't really use a pattern per se. It's more of a how to make socks sort of thing. I'm trying to find it because there's one mistake. At one point during the ribbing, I purled when I should have knit. And it's obvious when you find it, but it's finding it that's the tricky part. And yeah, there it is. So if you can see, if this will focus, please focus. I've got autofocus turned on, you should work. But right here is a purl stitch where there should be a knit stitch. And I asked him if he wanted me to take back, and he said, nah, it just proves they're handmade. So there we are. And it's a Jewish, I don't want to say superstition, but it's a Jewish belief, maybe, that only God is perfect. Humans cannot aspire to be perfect because only God is perfect. So there we are. I'm not super, super, super religious, but I like stuff like that. So anyway, these are his socks. They are going back in the pencil case, knitting bag, whatever. These are my lovely, I think they're called Bryson sock blockers that Selma gave me for Christmas a couple of years ago, which Rob is very offended that I use sock blockers that were given to me as a gift, store-bought, as opposed to using his that he made me with his own 2 hands and a laser. So yeah, these live in here so they don't get covered in cat hair. They don't get chewed up. They don't get stuff spilled on them. They will be intact when we get married in, good Lord, 7 months. So that's where those live. I did make a little bit of progress, not the intended progress, obviously, but I sort of lost my mojo, like, big time after the exam. I only got 2 squares done on the 3rd row. So this is my baby's first scrappy blanket that I'm making for some friends of mine who live in Minnesota. Pretty sure it's Minnesota. Yeah. I had originally said that the blanket was making its way to North Dakota. That's incorrect. They do not live in North Dakota. They live in Minnesota, not far from the North Dakota border. But anyway, so it's basically just a mitered square blanket. I based myself on the knitted patchwork recipe by Martine Ellis, but not the same cast on. I am doing the decreases the way she does in that pattern, though, not the central double decrease, but the 2 decreases, 2 opposite leaning decreases, because I like those better. I find that they lie flatter, and I get more of a, as opposed to a single stitch ridge along the middle, I feel like it's just more of a, I don't know, it's more of a I don't know how to describe what I'm thinking. The words are in my head and they don't want to come out of my mouth. So anyway, I just like this one better. And I'm making this out of leftover yarn from the wedding blanket I made for the parents. So I had made out of the XRX magazine, they had these books that were the Great American Afghan, Great American Aran Afghan, Great North American Afghan. I have 3 or 4 of these books. And I picked squares from each of the books, and I made this huge blanket. It covered a king-size bed. Comfortably covers a queen-size bed, just covers the top of a king-size bed. So I had made this for them when they got married back in, what year did they get married? 2015, I think. And they are now expecting their first baby. I had yarn left over from the big blanket with the intent of making them a baby blanket when the baby came along. So they are now pregnant, and she is expecting, I think, in May. And so I am in the midst of making the scrappy blanket for the baby. Wow, that square is coming up really dark. I mean, it is really dark, but it's a little greener than that. This is one teal that's not coming up accurately, but it's pretty close. So this is Valley Yarns Northampton Bulky, which is Webb's own brand, the Valley Yarns. And so I've got Pacific Teal. This is Stone Blue. This is Colonial Blue. Yes. This is Lake Heather, I think. And this is, I don't remember the name of this color. And then we've got the Dove Gray. Dove Gray or Light Gray? Light Gray, sorry. Dove Gray is it's an Impix colorway for Brava. There we go. So anyway, I don't remember the dark green one, but I know all the other ones. This is being knit on ginormous 10 millimeter size 15 needles. They're huge, but they're really, really nice bamboo. I can't remember where I got these. They might be Clover, but I don't think so. They are super, super nice. They're bamboo. They are finished, like they have a finish on them, and they are so nice to knit with. They're relatively pointy for a size 15, so I've got the other 3 lying around on the table over here, but these are fantastic needles, and I love them. They may hypothetically be Hiya bamboos, but I'm not sure. I bought them a very, very long time ago. So I got a little bit done on that, not a lot. And I finally finished section 9. I'm finally into the lace section that is going to lead to the color fading on the 5th color, adding in the 6th color of my Find Your Fade. Didn't call it a color effect in this time. So it's the Find Your Fade by Andrea Mowry. I've made one before. It was rainbowy. And I finished it 2 years ago and gave it to my friend Tanya for her wedding. So this one, I'm not going to go through the yarns again because I say them every time and you guys are probably getting tired of hearing them. But anyway, it's fading from this red and blue to this nice, this was the Van Gogh colorway. I love this one. And I have enough left over to make myself a pair of shorty socks. And then this is a Barocco socks. Another opal. This is where the pattern stops increasing in width. And then this is a lovely Open Skies tweed yarn from Jeanette, who is the Bookish Stitcher podcast. And we haven't heard from in a while. And Jeanette, chop chop. Miss seeing your face, lady. So yes, this is where I was last time. And I got that much done, which is not a lot, but it's 234 stitches a row. I'm impressed I got this much done. So I'm back into another lace section, as you can see here. You can probably see the eyelets at the top. And I'm not going to give myself any goals because, quite frankly, I'm exhausted. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself, especially since I need to get that thing on the needles in the next few days, which is the chuppah. The lace chuppah by Cat Coyle, I think. I think that's who designed it. It was an Interweaves Knits summer 2007, or maybe it was summer 19. Yeah, well, my brain doesn't want to function right now. It's been a very long week. I think I worked 70 hours last week because I worked Friday night. I volunteered to work Friday night because it was Valentine's Day. A lot of the kids wanted the night off, blah, blah, blah. I was like, sure, I'll work. I worked Saturday morning. I worked Sunday morning. And then my boss posted on Facebook, hey, can anybody pick up a 4 to 8 shift? And I was like, me, I can. Because that guy started working at my store. And he works Saturday and Sunday nights, 4 to 8. So I was like, well, I have to be here at 4 to drop my kid off anyway. And then I have to be here at 8 to pick him up because it's winter and it's bloody cold outside. So I'm not going to make him walk. So I might as well just stick around and make myself useful in between. Yeah, a 4-hour shift in a day is not a bad idea. 2 4-hour shifts in a day, bit much. So I will not be making that mistake again. It was brutal. I am still exhausted from it. I'm very thankful I didn't work tonight. The whole reason why I'm recording while he's sitting there chatting with his friend, although he's being very, very quiet right now, which is very nice. He was supposed to be at work tonight and ended up injuring himself and could not go to work. So that's why he's here. Otherwise, it would have been just me, and I would have been able to, well, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do anything I can't do with him here, but, you know. So anyway, yes, my Find Your Fade has seen a little bit of love. It's going to see some more love, but the chuppah is got to become my first priority because I want to get it finished by like 1st of June. Rob needs time to be able to, first of all, I need to be able to lock it, and Rob needs to be able to measure it and build a chuppah frame to fit it. So that will also fit in the temple, like is it an altar in a synagogue? I don't know. I mean, I know all the terminology for Catholic churches because I grew up Catholic and I was an altar girl and I was heavily involved. So I know all that terminology, but I don't really know a lot of the terminology in a synagogue because I didn't grow up around it and it's all rather new to me. I think the altar is where the Torah, no, the Ark is where the Torah sits. Yes, the Ark is where the Torah sits. Anyway, you guys don't need to know any of that stuff. So, yes, that to say that the next time I see you, hopefully there will have been a little bit of progress on the chuppah, and I will have it on the longer needles so that you will actually be able to see some of the patterning. The socks will not be blocked, but they will be washed. He still washes all his hand-knit socks by hand. Because I told him there was one pair he couldn't wash in the machine. It was knit out of Spud and Chloe Spud and Chloe sock of some kind. Because it's half merino and half silk. So it's a special sock yarn, and I was like, I didn't know how it was going to behave in the washing machine. So although all his other socks are superwash merino and nylon, I didn't want him to put those in the washing machine. So he doesn't wash any of them in the washing machine. He washes them all by hand. So that's why he continues to get hand-knit socks. So that's all the knitting I have to talk about because I didn't touch my scrappy blanket and I didn't touch any of the other stuff I've got on the needles. I figured it out. I've got 6 whips. 6 pods. Were his socks counted in that? I think I have 6 works in progress currently. I've got the branching out scarf. I've got the straight and narrow socks, which are my own design, and I haven't started the second one yet because I had other priorities. I've got the lace chuppah. I've got the scrappy blanket. I've got the baby scrappy blanket, and I've got this thing. So no, that doesn't count his socks. So I have 6 whips on the needles right now, and I would like to get rid of some of those. But the chuppah is going to have to become my first priority. Obviously, I'm going to be knitting on other things at the same time. The chuppah cannot go to work with me because it's huge and it's a very complicated, very complicated. It's a lace pattern and I need to pay attention to the chart. I can't just take it on the bus and start knitting. So, and this is too big to go on the bus. So, and the branching out is also lace and requires me to pay attention to the chart. So I'm likely going to start the second sock at some point soon. The baby blanket is also too bulky to bring on the bus. The scrappy blanket is the right size, but I refuse to use DPNs. No, that's not true because I use DPNs for the sock. Huh. Why was I not bringing my scrappy blanket? Well, I mean, it is very long, and I don't want my ball to escape the bag and like go running around the slushy bus because it's winter and ew. So yeah, the second sock will probably be cast on in the next couple of weeks. Possibly not this week, but because I don't have any best knitting right now and I'm a little bored. So that's about all the knitting I've got. I have to talk about. There has been a lot of activity in podcast land, obviously, because it's been 3 weeks since I said anything to you guys. So in the last 3 weeks, Must Love Yarn has put out episode 154. The Knit Girls have put out episodes 471, 472, and 473. I have not yet seen 473. Steeped in Books has started a new series. That's Sarah, who is True Knit Girl on Ravelry and formerly of the Canadian Knitter podcast. She has started a new series on her BookTube channel called Tea in Books, and she released episode 1. It is really cool, and I really loved it, and I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. She's also been doing her weekly reading vlogs. She did her February TBR. She did her January wrap-up. Back to full schedule on releasing videos. And I believe she had one come out is it Read Bliss, the channel that she does reviews for? Anyway, she put out a video with them as well. Ninja Chickens put out episode 69, as well as a coil spinning tutorial with wool and wire. So that looks really cool, and I want to check it out. Stitching the High Notes put out episodes 78 and 79. I have not yet had the chance to see 79. Little Big Knits has released a video to announce the winners of the Garments Galore Cow, and has also released episode 34. I've not yet watched the episode. I watched the winners video, even though I didn't participate in the cow, just because I like watching Selma. And it was funny because I was watching her at work, and one of my coworkers, brand new coworker, she just started about a month ago, she was walking up behind me and she said, I know her. So this new coworker, her name is Susan. She has just started working with us to replace my friend Alice, who was the other director's admin assistant. Alice left in September, and it took them 4 months to replace her. So we were all very thankful when Susan showed up. We were all very happy to see her, because taking care of two bosses is really difficult. I did it for the first month and a half, and then our big boss's assistant did it, because it was a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot to take care of two teams. And yeah, we were very thankful to see Susan's face. So it turns out that she knows Selma from a choir they both sang in at one point. And she knows my best friends, Sylvie and Sarah, because she's dating one of their best friends. And it was just like this weird small towny vibe where everybody knew everybody, but we didn't know everybody. It was weird. So anyway, she's getting the hang of things, and we're really, really happy to have her. So yeah, it was just really funny when she walked up behind me and went, I know her. And I was like, really? I know her too. Not just watching her on the internet. So it was really funny. Hand Me My Knitting with Sam has put out episodes 33 and 34, as well as a Here's My Stash, Help Me Declutter. Or it's a declutter along sort of thing, which is awesome, because that's exactly what I've been doing with my stash. And slowly but surely, because I have a very, very large stash. It's a little embarrassing, actually, the size of my stash. And I hold on to everything. I have scraps, so many scraps, and like single balls of something that I will never be able to use, and like dollar store yarn, and I have everything. What else have we seen? Suburban Stitcher has released episode 183. I really enjoy watching her. The Cat Lady has released episode 106, and if you follow her podcast, you're going to want to check that one out if you haven't already. She's making a few changes in the way she does things, and she has been researching ideas for a new business, and came up with a new logo, and she's been a busy girl, so I would check that one out. Gentle Knitter Podcast released episode 31, and it was lovely to spend some time with Nicole again. She lives in the same city as I do. We've never met here. We met at Rhinebeck. We've never met here. We need to remedy that. She keeps saying we should go for coffee sometime. We really should. One of these days when I'm not knitting, when I'm not working 24/7. One of those days. Stockinette Zombies released episode 273, which I also have not yet had a chance to watch, but they're always good for an hour or so of fun, so I would check them out. Espace Tricot released episode 36, which I have also not yet had the chance to watch. By the Lakeside released her February Makes video. She seems to be straying away from doing set episodes and is now just doing sort of a vlog style of video, which I'm really enjoying, and that's all I've ever seen of her. So I like them. I'm sure my opinion counts for ever so much, but I like them. Podcast on River City Yarns released episode 37. The Knitting Pipeline, yay Paula, released video number 31 with her sister, and I was so thrilled to see her face, and Paula, I love you. I haven't gotten to see her at Stitches Midwest for the last couple of years because I haven't gone, and I don't think she went this year either. But I'm very, very happy to see her face on a video again. So hi, Paula. Knitting with Frogginette released episode number 4, which was very, very nice. Thank you. And Night Owl Fibers released episode 44. So that's a heck of a lot of podcasts that have been released since I last talked to you guys. And I'm falling behind a little bit. I need to sort of catch up, but I can't really. My lunch hours have been a little bit busier at work, and I haven't had the time to just sit and watch podcasts over my lunch. So that is one of those things that happens near year end. I work for the government, so fiscal year end is March 31st, which means that all our budget needs to be wrapped up and spent before March 31st. I'm doing my part by taking another class. But yeah, it's the sort of thing where all the work sort of needs to be wrapped up before the end of the year. And it's super fun because it's also tax time. Woohoo! I haven't got my documents yet, so I can't file my taxes, but soon, I hope. So anyway, yeah, haven't been having a lot of sleep. It's been stressful. It's been nerve-wracking. There's been a lot going on. There will continue to be a lot going on. My parents are currently traveling in Hawaii, so at least I've got my Sundays to myself for a few weeks. And then the week they come back, I'm in Chicago, so I won't see my parents till mid-March. Which reminds me, it's my brother's birthday in 2 weeks, so I can't forget that. It's actually Zach's birthday on Thursday. He turns 21, so which means he can drink in the U.S. too. He's like, I'm going to be able to drink at your wedding. Ha! And then he looks at my sister and goes, at his sister rather, and goes, you won't. Because she'll be 19 when we get married. So she will not be able to drink. Doesn't matter. We're having a dry wedding. It's fine. We're not big drinkers anyway. So it's not that big a deal. So yeah, plans for this week. Now that I'm between classes, I'm finally going to have some time to work on my essay, which is the final piece in the conversion process to Judaism before I am brought before a Beit Din. Beit Din is the council, if you will, that decides whether or not I will be allowed to become a bat mitzvah. Basically, they're going to interview me and decide if my reasons for wanting to become Jewish are good enough. I basically am Jewish, but I don't get to go through the bat mitzvah process without their permission. And it's kind of funny because when I took my first class back in, I think it was 2012, Rob's mom actually, when I was talking to her about some of the stuff I'd learned in class, and I was like, yeah, it's in preparation for bat mitzvah, blah, blah, blah. At the old temple, I was not permitted. The rabbi would not permit me to seek the Beit Din and speak to the council. The old rabbi and I have differences of opinions on many things. He's now retired. He's no longer their rabbi. He will always be a rabbi, but he is no longer the rabbi leading that congregation. Because you never stop being a rabbi. Like you retire from not active service, but you know what I mean. Like you no longer have a congregation, but you're still a rabbi. I'm just babbling at this point. Anyway, so I have this essay that I need to write, and it's basically my spiritual autobiography. There are a bunch of prompts that I have to sort of work from, and I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off forever. And it's finally time to, and I've started it about 50 times and not known where to go with it, and felt that what I was trying to write was too stupid or just not good enough or whatever, and that nobody would like it and the rabbi would hate it, and because I'm me. And yeah, so I finally decided that, you know what, even if it's not good enough, it's me. What I'm writing is me. And if it's decided that it's not good enough, so be it. But at the same time, I'm really, really hoping that it goes well. But at this point, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to write it, and whatever happens, happens. I'm very, very self-critical when it comes to writing. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer. I wrote a lot of poetry in high school and college. Haven't written any since I was about 20, 21. Wanted to write fiction, wanted to write short stories, could never get to the end of the short story. I couldn't formulate it as a complete story. I could start it and then it would kind of lose traction partway through. And by the time I got to page 3, it made no sense anymore. So I've never finished anything. I've never written anything. I wrote articles for my school newspaper when I was in high school. I wrote a couple of editorials that got published. Obviously, I've had many iterations of blog, none of which continue very long because I feel like people get bored with it, and so I stop writing. Which is kind of not the way a blog is supposed to work. But, you know, when you've got 6 readers and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, it's kind of discouraging. So I don't really actively blog all that much anymore. I keep trying to resurrect it, and it keeps floundering. Nobody's reading it, so I will continue to post show notes when I have them on the blog, but other than that, this is why I'm so self-critical of my writing, because it's a dream I had that I've never pursued, that I wouldn't know how to pursue. So anyway, at this point, I'm just babbling. I've been babbling for half an hour, so I will stop babbling. I will wish you all a very pleasant week. Hopefully I will see you again next Monday. I'm working on it. My life is a little chaotic these days, so I will continue working on it, and hopefully I will be able to show you some more knitting next week. So I hope you all have a great week, and please, please, please be kind to one another. Bye.